Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Ray Tango. He's done it to us again. If it isn't Tango, it's Cash. Tango and Cash, Cash and Tango. These two cops are driving me crazy. We have to do something about this. Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Tango and Cash. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from a undisclosed maximum security prison in LA, my name is Don. And to my right, we have the comic book guy, John.
Well, if it isn't Armani with a badge.
And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
The comic book guy has spoken very eloquently. I wish I could be as forgiving, but I can't because this whole thing fucking sucks. I mean, this is the biggest pile of shit that I have ever.
Well done, professor. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
Doing good.
Yeah. We're talking a little Tango and Cash. If you have been with us this entire time, A,
Thank you.
and B, good on you, right? I'm sure it's not easy, but we are now entering round 8 in the Three Guys search for the best classic 80s action flick out there. We had a list of movies. There's a criteria. I think there's 7 other podcasts that explain all that to you. So go back and listen. So tonight we're talking about Tango and Cash, which was released on December 22nd, 1989. It was directed by Andrei Konchalovsky. Screenplay by Randy Feldman, and it stars Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell, Jack Palance, Teri Hatcher, and a bunch of other actors. Tango and Cash is in fact the last action movie released in the 80s. So, going out with a bang, I was looking to watch it and I can't remember where I was looking, and for some reason the device or the app I was on said that it was released in 1990, and I started to shit my pants a little bit because I'm like, oh fuck, now I gotta hear it. It's a 1990 movie and will never fly, right? So I had to look it up, and then in fact it did come out in December
22nd.
And it I think it's kind of a culmination of every action movie throughout the decade. There are so many tropes that we have seen a gazillion times throughout even the movies that we've been reviewing, all kind of wrapped up in a nice bow with Stallone and Kurt Russell. And I gotta fucking tell you, I enjoyed it.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It almost feels like this movie watched all the other great 80s action movies of the 80s and just said, okay, we're going to take everything that worked and put it in this movie with, Kurt Russell kind of redoing a character he's done before and Stallone kind of getting out of the box.
Kurt Russell's kind of that fun, jovial bad boy, which we've seen before. And Stallone, completely out of the box, right? He's completely taking a left turn in what we have previously seen him in and come to expect. And did you know that he didn't want to do it? He didn't want to do the comedic role. He wanted to be more serious. And that was one of the things that kind of led to the director leaving 2/3 before this movie was finished. Infamously, this movie has had like 3 directors, which is fucking crazy. It's a big train wreck. But it all kind of comes together. And I'm really super happy that Stallone didn't get his way and he went into the comedic side, because I think he's fucking funny, being completely opposite of Rambo and Rocky. You know what I mean?
Well, his next couple of movies kind of reflect this as well, because after this, he does Oscar and Stop My Mom or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's taken a different tack.
Yeah, and it's not until 93 where he does Cliffhanger, where he kind of gets back into character, I guess I should say. I mean, I didn't mind Oscar.
I thought it was cute.
Stop her, my mom will shoot. Okay.
It's a groomer.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, he comes back, so
Did you know that was his actual glasses?
in Tango and Cash.
In Tango Cash, that was his own personal glasses. He, I guess, is nearsighted.
Oh, really?
Something like that. And so, yeah, that's what he uses to read.
Oh, interesting.
Here's another interesting fact, listeners. We are all, Don, John, and myself, all wearing our actual own glasses as well.
How'd the movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $54 million and it brought in $120 million. Not a bad haul.
Yeah, it's respectable compared to some of our other action movies on our list.
For the movies on our list, yeah, this is a pretty sizable chunk. But as far as movies in 1989, Professor, where does this land?
Well, actually, it lands a lot further down the list than what we're talking about. The $120 million represents revenue that also comes in from video rentals. And this movie had a really, really successful run in the VHS realm over in Europe, like Russia and such. So for box office, this movie actually only made in the USA $63 million. However, as you were stating, this summer of 89, and this was released in December, so it's not even a summer run movie.
Right.
But this movie, this summer of 1989, you have $251 million out of Batman. And then after that, we have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That brought in $197 million. And then the third highest domestic grossing movie was Lethal Weapon 2 at $147 million. So it's actually way down there on the list. But it does make a lot back courtesy of Europe.
Sure. And that's kind of typical with American action movies back then too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we certainly have found other gems ourselves that are they have a second life, if you will, after they leave the theater, either through a cult following or a Friday night rental. Right? There have been several examples of this where we have a movie that it gets a second set of legs, and this is one of them.
did you happen to see this in the theater,
No way, this is blockbuster all the way.
sir?
Blockbuster.
Yeah, me too.
But in general, you guys like the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was a fun 80s action movie if you're just watching it for the ride.
I was excited to get back on track because you guys know how I felt about last week's movie and our list and what we're doing. But this one falls right smack dab in the middle of all the fucking criteria and everything that goes along with it.
What about you, Professor?
It's a guilty pleasure. It's not a great movie, but it certainly is a guilty pleasure, and it leans on all of those tropes rather heavily.
You know, this movie could have been a very different movie had the original star who was going to play Cash not dropped out. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, but thank God he did, or we would have never gotten Roadhouse.
No shit.
Roadhouse.
Could you imagine if it flopped? Kurt Russell is now Dalton, and Patrick Swayze is now Cash. What kind of a world would that be?
Upside down.
Upside
Yeah.
down.
The crazy thing is we almost had Patrick Swayze in this movie. And then Kurt Russell, did you know what 1987 movie he was supposed to be in?
1987? Dirty Dancing?
No.
No.
I was thinking something else.
He was originally...
Oh, okay, wait, hang on. What were you thinking?
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, he was offered the role of Martin Riggs originally in Lethal Weapon. And his character of Cash is actually meant to kind of be inspired by Martin Riggs.
How in the fucking world did I not know that?
I don't know. That's kind of weird.
It is weird. But, oh, yeah, you can totally see little glimpses of Riggs inside of Cash.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, this movie I felt like really borrowed from the formula of Martin and Riggs.
Oh,
Or of a Lethal Weapon.
It borrowed... Well, Lethal Weapon borrowed the formula from other movies, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a buddy cop movie wasn't a new concept, but I think that what Lethal Weapon brought was chemistry between the two key players. That's what I think sets it apart from other buddy action movies, this one included. However, I really do love the chemistry between Stallone and Russell.
It's that twinkle in Kurt Russell's eye, and his smile is always flashing.
Yeah, and I love just how... Would you say that Stallone was dry? He was using a dry humor in this?
The script was pretty loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they started shooting, they really didn't have an active script, and it was constantly being tweaked. I got the impression from what I was reading that Stallone was doing a lot of that tweaking in conjunction with, how they were having the movie roll along. It was certainly something that Stallone could have had an impact in because he's got a ton of one-liners.
Yeah. Stallone is probably at one of his peaks in 89, right before the downfall, like we were kind of talking. So I'm sure if he said, hey, I think we should say this, or I should say this, I'm sure they're like, okay.
Sure. He's Rocky. He's Rambo.
Yeah. And he's a fucking writer.
Yep.
So he does know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When it came to Kurt Russell, was he just playing a typical Kurt Russell character, or did you kind of feel like he was playing a scaled back Jack Burton?
No, I think that with Kurt Russell, he has such a charm and charisma to him that I think he makes every character just a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But he has what not everyone has. He has a coolness about him. And I think that coolness kind of engulfs the character, and no matter what he's playing, I think it's different than all of the other ones.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. He definitely has a screen charisma that you are drawn to him, and he is able to effectively harness that inner compelling need to look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would almost say he was cooler than Jack Burton. Almost. He's more effective than Jack Burton.
Yeah.
But I think Jack still might be just a wee bit cooler than Cash. But Cash is fucking up there. Did you guys recognize the music? Who did the music?
Frickin' Harold Faltermeyer.
Right. Because as it starts, I'm thinking, wait, was this in Beverly Hills Cop?
It sounds just like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. And you get that running theme throughout it, and it's going to be fun. And Harold Faltermeyer, he did everything in the 80s, all the action movies, right? Did. So, they were really grasping and kind of, going out with a bang of this decade of excessiveness and over the top male macho style movies, because in the 90s, everything starts to calm down a little bit. I consider Tango and Cash the last of the great 80s action flicks. So, quite literally.
It took us about 28 years for these two to appear in a movie together. What movie did they appear in?
Well, they appear in the movie, yes.
Yeah, but not together.
But not together.
Can I have what is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for 800, please?
That would be correct, sir.
Yes.
The other piece of information I thought was interesting is that apparently these days, Stallone really is excited about wanting to do a sequel to this movie, and he's trying to get Kurt Russell on board so they can actually pump out a new one.
Our legacy sequels that like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Tango and Cash. Bring it back, baby. Bring it back.
I would like to point out another thing that seems to be something of the 80s that you were talking about, Don. Something else that we get is this boardroom villain. Right? He's got a fancy office with the plush leather chairs and a bank of televisions. That seems to be a rather common trope as well.
Yeah. The James Bond villain, as I kind of like to call him, a little bit of scaled back. What'd you guys think of Jack Palance?
I can't think of a movie that I don't like him in.
Yeah.
He always brings that style of just creepy character that works in these movies.
Yeah. And he's a great villain.
Oh, yeah.
He's an absolute great villain.
Yeah, and the fact of who sniffs rats?
Jack Palance does, because he's a crazy rat sniffer fucker.
Drug dealer, weapon seller.
Yeah, nobody even really knows what this guy does, right? Mm-hmm. But he apparently he's in charge of Quan and
Lopez.
And it was Lopez.
And he almost wanted to call him the game master just because he liked playing the games with people.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And he even had the rats in the maze.
Which was an example of what?
I don't know. I don't know, because Tango and Cash weren't technically in a maze.
But didn't they kind of foreshadow when they later on in the movie referred to driving around in a rat maze?
Wah, wah, wah. I was thinking you were going more toward the sewers in the prison.
No, they refer to it as when they start in the RV from hell.
Right.
They're in a rat maze.
No, I get that. But the foreshadowing could have also meant
Oh, I've got 3 examples of foreshadowing. Do you want me to go through them now?
No, no. In fact, let's put that on the calendar and let's do that March 23rd, 2026.
Are you foreshadowing that future date?
Motherfucker. Beverly Hills LAPD Lieutenant Raymond Tango and downtown Los Angeles Lieutenant Gabriel Cash are considered the 2 best cops in Los Angeles. They are opposite in almost every way and have an intense rivalry, with each considering himself to be the best. Their actions often make headlines for their large drug busts through the Southern California area. Unbeknownst to them, all the shipments actually belong to a single criminal organization headed by Yves Perret. After Tango's latest bust, Perret convinces his associates, Quan and Lopez, that the 2 officers have become a problem and they need to be taken care of.
What did you think of the introduction of our 2 main characters?
Oh, I thought it was a great classic, let's just jump on the motorcycle and go for a ride. First, we're introduced to Stallone because, he was probably billed on the marquee first. And, we see him driving in his car in a chase. Boring chase, but chase nonetheless. Chuck it up. And the guys in the helicopter, "You're out of your jurisdiction, Tango. What are you trying to do, buddy?" That whole thing.
But we already know he's a loose cannon.
Tango's not a loose cannon.
Well, he doesn't operate with partners or bringing in backup and everything. He just takes care of it all himself.
Yeah.
He wants the credit.
He's more of a lone wolf.
That's what I think too.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has to stop this big rig, this tanker.
And he thinks he has it under control, stopping a tanker with a snub-nosed 38.
Well, he does. Did you not watch the same thing I did?
I was wondering, when he gets out of the car and he opens up his gun and he pulls out all the bullets and puts in a new set of rounds. Do you know why he did that?
I'm thinking he was changing out the bullets, armor-piercing bullets.
No, I read online that police will sometimes do this because they don't know how many shots they may have already previously fired and they don't want an empty chamber, so they just want to fill it so that they know exactly how many shots they have left.
Yeah, and plus it looks fucking cool, right? You had to have it all slow-mo, and he's in his Armani suit.
He's so relaxed.
And he's got his glasses on, and the truck's coming, and it's man against truck, and he shoots, and the truck stops, and the 2 guys go flying out the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
The gentleman that I guess they call him in the movie Face, he's referred to later as Conan. Do you know that that's not a prosthetic on his chin?
No, he's all natural.
Yeah, he had some, I guess, genetic condition when he was born that gave him that oversized chin. And what other movies did he appear in?
You motherfucker. I was just going to ask you that because I've been racking my brain trying to place him, but I know I've seen him in other 80s action movies.
There is a series of 3 movies he is famous for.
Oh, Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop.
What else, though? I feel like there's something else. Was he a bad guy in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
I don't know for sure. I know he has appeared in a lot of movies.
Yeah. God, if there was only this thing that we could look at and give us information.
Why are you looking at me?
You're the fucking professor!
You know everything.
For fuck's sakes!
Well, I don't know because I didn't recognize him from anything because I was strangely obsessed with his jaw.
That's why I call him Face.
Have you ever seen Maniac Cop?
I've seen the first one.
I've never seen him, but now I want to go back and watch him.
For him?
Yeah. Because I was reading up on, trying to do some research on him. Unfortunately, I guess he passed away in the early 2000s, but I was doing some research and I wish I could remember his movies because he's done a lot of big things.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
What does this have to do with cocaine and a semi-truck?
I don't know, but we didn't get to the cocaine until, I think this is one of my favorite lines of the movie. The tankers stop and they can't find the drugs and everyone's yelling at him and he, does the macho thing and shoots the tanker. But before that, the one cop is like, "Tango, I want your badge. I want your ass." And he goes, "Who do you think you are?" And the guy on top of the tanker's like, he thinks he's Rambo. Rambo is a pussy. I just think such a great line coming from Rambo.
Totally.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Stallone's introduction?
I liked it. I thought it was good. He comes across how he is in the movie. I find him to be smug and trite, and he always has a one-liner. It's almost like he can't say a regular sentence.
The only thing I think that bothered me about his character is when they talk about that he's been on the police force for only 12 years and he's already that smug, that snobbish, and that much of a super cop in just 12 years.
You think it's too soon
I feel like it was a little too soon.
to excel at something in 12 years?
Well, you think he started out probably as a beat cop or right out of the thing, for 5-6 years. Then maybe he went into
Not
detective.
if he's the shit and making busts and
I
moving
don't-
his way up.
That number just seemed weird to me.
No,
I didn't question it.
Okay.
that seems weird to me. And then we get to meet,
Our antagonist next, oh so briefly.
and I like this bit because it just tells us right away that here's the bad guy and here are his two henchmen, and we see Jack Palance and we already know he's the bad guy. But after we meet our antagonist, we get to meet Gabriel Cash. What'd you guys think of Kurt Russell's introduction?
Well, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, not too hip on it, huh?
No, it didn't. Like I said, his character really didn't jump out at me like a Martin Riggs, like a, crazy kind of out of control loose cannon.
Well, he wasn't supposed to be.
But I thought that's the way they were trying to portray it, as the smug Beverly Hills cop with the, loose cannon LA cop.
Right, but at some point during the movie, you would have to decide that that's not his character.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't take him like
you
that
didn't?
at all.
I just felt like that's the way, if you read the movie description, that's the kind of the way they portrayed him.
Is that
Well,
is that how you watch a movie?
I usually will look at the description first.
Right. No, and I get that, but as you were watching it, he didn't do anything to change your mind on that?
No.
Well, interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. What'd you think?
I liked it well enough. He's sitting there admiring himself in the mirror. I'm so great.
In the car he pulls up in, eating a burrito.
Okay, but how does the bad guy see that Cash is standing right there in front of the mirror, unless it's a one-way mirror? Little pervy.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that the guy who was standing behind the mirror heard footsteps, and that's how he deduced that Cash would be right there.
And then we get him being shot a couple of times, and then all of a sudden he gets another weapon out of his boot. It's like a Get Smart, Maxwell Smart boot.
Yeah, the boot is the weapon.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, he comes out and he's getting shot and almost shot off the fucking balcony, but no, like all good cops, he's wearing his bulletproof vest. And then we get a chase.
Well, sort of a car chase. I mean, it's an underground garage.
Right, but I mean, one person is chasing another person.
And we get the police trope or the action movie trope of, I need your car.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Police business. I've always wanted to try that. Commandeer someone's car, get a badge. I'm a cop, I need your car. If a cop did that to me, I'd say, fuck you. And I'd drive away. Depends on the situation, I suppose.
What did you think of the Cash?
Oh, I
intro?
loved the openings to both of them. It right away tells us who we're dealing with.
Exactly.
And we can move forward, right?
Exactly.
And that's the one thing that I do appreciate about these 80s action flicks is that our pace and that we can move the story along. And we don't need to have a mind-blowing story with twists and turns. Sometimes it's okay just to have fun. And that's what Tango and Cash was. It was just fucking fun.
That's exactly what I felt too. Is like, again, we talked about all the tropes in it, but really it was just giving us what we love about every action movie out there.
Then from here, we get to meet Kiki, and it is yet to be disclosed to us what Kiki is in this story arc.
Right, because after the bust, we get office life with Tango, and we see that someone does call him Armani with a badge, right? Oh, no, he doesn't. So Ray's at the office, and we know that Kiki's waiting for him, or Catherine. They call her Catherine. Mm-hmm. And we, as the audience, don't know that they're brother and sister. We are led to believe that they have some sort of relationship.
A very personal relationship.
And we get from this interaction that Ray is overbearing. He is a protector, maybe an overprotector, but when it comes to like a stock call coming in, he'll drop everything and take his call. He's definitely a Wall Street cop.
And that's the other thing that's given to us is he's on the phone with his stock market guy.
Yeah, and that joke's going to come back multiple times throughout this film. Him being the stockbroker.
But I will say, you are forced to be okay. I was forced to be led to believe it's got to be his sister, based on the way that they were talking to each other and the fact that she's insistent on doing her own thing.
And he does kind of come across as a very big brother vibe, for sure. So when Cash was at home, he has the newspaper, right? And in the upper right-hand corner, it says that Tango has made $1 billion bust. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you have Cash's. And that's where you can tell that there is a competition.
A rivalry.
And, Cash is like, hey, it's Armani with a badge, and I made the paper.
Well, I always look for symbolism in movies, and I did like the fact, obviously, that they placed it in a way that it would basically say Tango and Cash, as well as showing that Tango is uptown, and at the bottom you have Cash, who is downtown.
Yeah.
And we do get major plot points that are revealed in our story arc because of these newspaper clippings. So then we get to see Cash be the kind of cop that he is, because he wants to have a little private interrogation with the guy that tried to kill him.
Yeah, what did you think of that whole interrogation scene?
I totally knew it was coming. You could see it a mile away.
Yeah, I like when Cash walks in and he looks at the guard and gives him the thumbs out, like, get out of here.
But why is your interrogation room in the locker room?
Well, it was a locker room or a bathroom?
I thought it was a bathroom, but why is the prisoner who just tried to kill a cop just walking on his own kind of in the bathroom? Maybe just one guard, but still, the guy's just kind of there.
Attempted cop killer.
Why are the Lords of Death just walking around a fucking airport not being monitored by security either? It's the fucking 80s. This is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Things are way too lax.
Yeah. And, Cash kind of got some information. I like the bit where he puts the chair on his throat. You know what? I want to try that. So when we're done, one of you gets to get a chair to the throat.
Not it.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
Well, I'm sitting on the chair.
I know. Well, you'll stand up, and then I'll ask you to sit, and then I'll take it out from under you. It's going to be a whole bit. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It's going to be fun. Perrette, believing that having them killed is too quick and easy, develops an elaborate scheme to discredit and humiliate them before finally torturing them to death. Individually informed of a drug deal taking place later that night, the detectives meet for the first time at the location and discover a dead, wiretapped body just as the FBI arrive and surround the duo. Agent Weiler finds Cash's backup pistol with attached suppressor on the floor and arrests him. At their murder trial, Tango and Cash are incriminated by an audio tape, verified in court by Skinner, an audio expert. It appears to reveal them shooting the undercover FBI agent after discussing a drug purchase. With the evidence stacked against them, they plead no contest to a lesser charge in exchange for reduced sentences in a minimum security prison. Instead, they get transported to a maximum security prison and are housed with many of the criminals they had each arrested. So Perrette comes up with this idea to, deal with his problem. And in the meantime, Cash got the information from the informant, the guy that he arrested, and Tango got a tip from his captain about a drug deal going down. And as it turns out, it's a fucking setup. So they meet at the place wherever this drug deal is going down, and they meet each other for the first time. This is the first time that Tango and Cash get to have some screen time together. What'd you guys think of this bit?
Well, I love the fact, that they almost did the kind of the face-off thing with they're both on either side of the wall and they're approaching each other and they pull the guns on each other. And of course, that's the picture that was on every movie poster.
I thought the way it played out was completely ridiculous. And having 47 police officers show up, there's a gun on the ground and a guy laying there. Why if you're both police officers, why are you immediately assumed to be guilty and you did something bad? You're police officers.
Oh, right.
And why are 47 police officers showing up for this?
Right. Yeah. No, the whole plot is fucking ridiculous. But I was talking about when Tango and Cash first meet. What did you think of the interaction between Stallone and Russell?
You're the second best cop.
Yeah, they can't talk in a normal sentence to each other. It has to be a zinger.
And like a one-upper every single time.
Absolutely.
What are you talking? Like, what are you, fucking delusional? You would have never got a shot off with that gun. No, not this gun. This gun. You knew that was coming too. So I thought it was cute. I bought the chemistry right away. I liked the one-upmanship and going back and forth. So they decide, I guess to work together, and they're about to enter the room. And I love what Kurt Russell says. He says, "All right, this is your bust. How do you want to do it?" Knowing damn well he's going to do whatever he wants.
He's going to go in the room first.
Yeah, so it's the 1, 2, 3, go, which we famously get through a couple of movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. This is where the plot kind of goes, okay, now we're in fairy tale land. Because, yeah, you had 40 FBI agents show up. You have the two most highly decorated cops in L.A., and you don't even, it's not like they even got a chance to explain anything.
One of the things I thought was kind of weird, and I had to watch it a couple times, the FBI captain, whoever was in charge, did you see him sneak the gun in?
No.
He actually, at the scene where they panned down where he finds the gun, you can see him slide that gun in real quick. And it actually moves for a second as he gets it there, and then he picks it up, and that's why later on Cash calls him out for planting that gun.
So they are arrested. And, one of our criterias was having a montage.
This is as close as we get to a montage.
And then that's a great way of saying that, Professor. Now, it's not a montage per se.
Because we get snippets of dialogue.
But we progress very quickly through the story, and they're giving us a big chunk of exposition in a quick time. And you know what? We don't need a whole lot. All right, they got arrested. We're going to fucking go along with it. But here's what I don't get. Why would their lawyers want a plea deal? Clearly, they didn't do anything wrong.
Because if they are found guilty, they will get a whole worse sentence. And they think that there's no way they're not going to be found guilty.
But they're the two most highly decorated cops in L.A.
But it's also somewhat believable that maybe part of the reason they're the most two decorated cops is because they're crooked and they know where all the drug busts are going to be.
Well, that just seems asinine.
That maybe they're the ones who are running all the drugs.
Maybe it was the doctored audio tape.
I know. Did you love being a person who edits, on the computer and does all that kind of stuff? Did you love seeing that throwback to the audio tape and thinking about him cutting it? And
I loved how fast he fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this guy when I need him? You know what I mean? I've actually cut a reel-to-reel, and yeah.
It's not fast.
Not at all. So Ponytail comes up to the guy, and he gives him the tape and says...
Raquin.
Mm-hmm. He comes up and he says, Perret says to use this tape. And then the dude from the FBI gives Raquin a tape. So who really cut the tape? Was it Raquin and his henchman?
No, I think it's supposed to be the guy who's the expert.
Then why did Raquin give him a tape?
He probably gave him a tape and said, here's the original tape. Now cut it to make it.
Then what tape did the dude in the car give him?
I don't know. Maybe they'd already created the tape. I don't know.
Well, thank you for trying. So they had the incriminating evidence, and it turns out that they were going to go...
they plead guilty.
They plead guilty, and they're going to go spend some time in a minimum security. I like this bit when the lawyer's talking to Stallone, and he goes, Ray, you got to take this deal, blah, blah, blah. And Tango says... I want to talk to Cash. And I think that they're starting to respect each other as, decorated cops.
You also get the impression they're both honorable in the fact that he will not take the plea deal unless Cash is also, he's not going to screw Cash.
That's a better way of saying that. They're both honorable men, right? And so they decide to take the deal. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is this courtroom scene.
Where they're talking just the two of them?
No, when they come back.
When Tango gives his big, elegant speech.
I love Tango's eloquent speech. Your Honor, I've been a cop for 12 years, and I love everybody. He's just so good. But before that, Cash is like, I want to say something. And Tango's like, no, you're not going to say nothing. And then Tango says what he has to say, sits down. And the judge says, would you like to add something, Mr. Cash? And the look that they give each other, it had me laughing.
Even the lawyer was like, no.
No, it was so funny.
Can we talk about Rakim real quick?
Rakim
real quick. I guess he's played by Brian James.
Yeah.
He should win the award for worst British accent ever in any movie.
Really? I thought it was fucking spot on.
I thought it sounded a little bit Australian. What'd you think, Professor? Do you have any opinions on his accent in this movie?
I thought it worked. Were you in the least bit surprised that they ended up at a maximum security prison?
No, we're not even in 20 minutes into the movie. Of course they're going to a maximum security. Of course it's going to be switched.
And you know that they're going into general population.
Oh, fuck. That was without a doubt.
I cannot believe that there is a prison around where the guards just walk down with my prisoners. I'm just transporting my prisoners while there's open fires.
Yeah, like obviously a riot or something has gone on.
And they're just strolling.
As they are walking in, they have to do their one upsman still. And I love when they walk by Face's cell, and he's going crazy, and Stallone grabs him through the bars and slams his head against the bars. I mean, these guys aren't taking any shit.
And we get the obvious Arnold Schwarzenegger reference of, it's Conan.
Yeah. I loved you in Conan the Barbarian. Yeah. And then Cash's line I like too. He says, Christ, I put half these guys away. And they're just walking, and you got piss coming down and fires, and yeah, crazy. I guess the guards just don't fucking care.
What'd you think of the shower sequence?
How did I know that John wanted to talk about the shower?
Well, it's got two guys, and they're in the shower. So I think that's kind of a
no-brainer. And they're small talking with each other.
Yes.
Some of the best conversations happen in a prison shower.
Oh, yeah, including this one, I guess, right? What did I think of the scene? I thought it was, Kurt Russell's trying to figure out what's going on, so he's trying to talk it out, and he's kind of being that character. And Stallone is trying to think to himself, and he's trying to come up with a plan, or trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, because clearly somebody fucked up and they're in the wrong place. And the ending, of course, you have two guys in the shower. You have to have the drop the soap bit, and that's kind of a requirement. And I thought that Kurt Russell's comeback to Stallone was brilliant. Kurt Russell runs down to get the soap, and Stallone's like, whoa, what are you doing? And he's all, relax, just picking up the soap. But don't flatter yourself, Pee-wee. And then that goes on, that carries on throughout the film too. And, this should have been called Tango and Cash and the One-Liners.
Here's one of the second things that I had to question about this movie was, did you notice what Tango was wearing around his neck?
His cross?
He was wearing a gold chain with a cross. There is no prison out there that will allow people to keep their jewelry when they are booked into prison.
And John knows this for a fact.
Oh, yeah. I told you, it's been a little while, but I remember this stuff.
Wait, so this is where the movie fell off the rails for you?
I'm just saying.
That detail?
It's some of these little details that just seemed a little odd that they would keep that in.
A little odd that they would keep it in, even though we shot at a tanker full of cocaine.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, man, to each his own. And so while they're in the shower, they're talking, and he tells Tango, they're going to put us in general population. And Tango goes, no, they're not. They don't put cops in general population. And then, bam, that's where they are. And then they have to walk through the fire-filled hallway, and then they get to their individual cells. Tango's roommate or cellmate, I guess, is Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother, very famous character actor.
I guess they called him Slinky in this movie.
Yeah, because he always was playing with the Slinky. And then, Kurt Russell got the big guy, which was, I like that bit because he walks into his cell, wants to take a piss, and, he goes, the cellmate puts his foot down and goes, "You can't use that crapper. That's my crapper." And then Kurt Russell's like, "Okay, well, let's do this now." And then the dude stands up and he goes, "Let's get one thing straight. That is yours." And then I'm thinking, where the fuck is he supposed to go to the bathroom?
He just gets to hold it.
Fuck, I guess so.
I did appreciate that, we got the nighttime scene where Kurt Russell is sleeping under just the giant guy who's almost hitting him, snoring, and he pokes him and he farts. And then we go back to Slinky, and he's all tied up in the Slinky.
Yeah. I like the bit where Stallone's trying to read his newspaper, and Slinky throws his Slinky at it, and he rips it, but Stallone pays him no mind, and he holds that little shard of paper up to look at it, Oh, stock market. Once in prison, Tango and Cash are roused from their beds and tortured by Rakeen, Perret's henchmen, and a gang of prisoners, until Matt Sorkowski, the assistant warden and Cash's former commanding officer, rescues them. Sorkowski recommends that they escape and provides them with a plan, but Tango opts out. When Cash tries to escape, he finds Skowalski murdered and in pursuit by the guards. Tango rescues him and they head for the roof. Cash ziplines outside the prison's walls, but Tango is attacked by the inmate Face before he can follow. Tango manages to electrocute Face by knocking him into the transformer before escaping. To clear their names, they separate. Tango tells Cash that if he needs to contact him, he can go to the Cleopatra Club and ask for Catherine. So you knew it was only a matter of time before, the gang or the prison collapsed on these two, right? And how many prison movies have you seen where, the doors open and inmates are taking care of other inmates?
Mm-hmm.
So Perret has to own this whole fucking prison. How does he get in? How do him and Rakeen get in? And then how does he make Face the head of the guards?
Yeah, he's like his lapdog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
And this does give us a very action-packed sequence. And, even compared to the finale, I think this might be my favorite action set piece of the entire film.
Or the torture scene in the downstairs.
The whole thing, from the time they get kidnapped from their bed until the time where Tango drops.
The police show up after the electrocution?
No, until when the whole prison sequence.
When they do the zip line.
Yeah, when they do the zip line.
Oh,
because there is a lull just in the
so
middle.
brief.
Yeah, because our heroes seem invincible. So we have to bring them down a little bit. And of course, you get your obligatory torture scene. What'd you guys think of the whole bit where they get cornered and they start this big old fight?
Well, one thing I appreciate about this movie is a lot of times when you have these buddy movies, sometimes one of the stars starts to come out as the lead character and the other one kind of falls into that sidekick. It seems like in this movie, whatever happened to one happened to the other. Whenever one was kind of being a badass, the other one was being just equally as a badass. So I appreciated that, we didn't just get to watch one of them get tortured. They both get tortured kind of the same way. They both get beat up. They both lose the fight and get tied up kind of things. I appreciated that about this scene.
I thought the fight was very predictable. As soon as they got thrown into the room, oh yeah, of course, everybody's going to show up and they're going to get the shit beat out of them. And Parrot's here too. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't raise my eyebrows to it at all.
When this happens, I think it's one of my favorite lines from Kurt Russell when he says, he's trying to buy some time. I don't want to be killed by this jerk off. I want to be killed by an American jerk off. And he has to stop and think about it. It's so good. But then they get into this big fight and they're brawlers. For sure. And I have a lot to say later on when we start talking about this battle royal again. But they're definitely brawlers. But they get overpowered, they get tortured, and then they get rescued, which you knew had to happen. And now they have to escape. What'd you guys think of the whole escape bit?
I thought it was interesting because I had seen this movie once before, but there were certain details I didn't remember. And I didn't remember the part of, Kurt Russell working with Matt, coming up with this escape plan, and Tango basically saying, I'm out. I'm not involved. I'm not going to be a part of it. I didn't remember him bowing out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember when I saw it, I'm thinking, oh no, dude, you can't leave him alone. He's gonna die.
Yeah, so that was kind of a twist, and I didn't, I figured when Cash got cornered and was falling, that of course Tango's going to show up, but I don't think I saw the story going that direction.
Yeah, and it was a good direction.
I didn't buy them being apart for a New York second. Even though Tango stays behind, they're going to be back together on screen in 5 minutes guaranteed, because they're locked at the hip in the movie. These two guys are going to be together throughout the entire movie.
Sure.
And so,
you knew as soon as Cash took off to do his solo thing that he was going to get trapped, and you knew that Tango was going to rescue him. The question was, when?
The only thing I didn't get was Tango's decision to stay. They just, a whole mob of prisoners just tried to kill him. He wasn't able to sleep through the whole night, yet he thinks everything's going to be fine now, and he's just going to stay and do his time.
No, but he didn't trust Matt. He didn't trust Cash's friend. And can you blame the guy? Look what just happened. He might be thinking survival of the fittest at this point. So who knows? But something obviously changed his mind because he went looking for Cash.
but then we get a couple of fantastical things that happen. One, we have, for whatever reason, Tango is now out of his cell. Why is he out of his cell, right?
He was on trash duty.
No,
Cash was.
Cash was.
Oh, Cash, I'm sorry, was, yeah.
So what is he doing out of his cell?
He was mopping.
And then the second thing is, what the heck is Face doing leading the prison guards?
I know, right? He was telling them where to go. They had the dogs on them. Where are the real cops? Are you telling me this is a completely corrupt prison?
Apparently it's Perret's, maximum security prison.
Yeah, it says that on the door.
I got the impression that, yes, it's pretty much a corrupt prison in that most of it's corrupt except for Matt and his people are not corrupt because, his people come up and save them.
Yeah, well, look how that worked out for him.
So, and of course, Matt gets killed by the limey British guy.
Yeah.
Now, did you obviously expect the double cross?
Yes,
That-
100%.
Did you expect Matt? I thought originally Matt was setting him up. I didn't expect Matt to come rolling down dead.
Him rolling down dead did surprise me. I knew there was going to be a setup because you had to, but I didn't know if Matt was part of it or not. And it turns out he wasn't, and, he had to die.
And then they go zipping around the prison, and somehow Cash has really good intuition on where they should be going next.
Yep, because Tango keeps asking him, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" He's all, "Yeah, totally. Let's just keep going this way." And then they get to the top of the roof, and you can tell that Cash is like, "Oh fuck, what are we gonna do now?" And then he sees the power line,
Which is, quick foreshadowing in the point of, as they're going through all the little electricity things, he says, "Now don't touch anything or you might get electrocuted."
Well,
you knew
yeah.
when the fight started between Tango and Face, he was going into those.
Oh yeah. There was no doubt that that's how he was gonna die. Mm-hmm. So I like what. So they're getting ready to jump to this wire, and Cash says to Tango, "I owe you one for back there, so you can go first." And then Stallone's like, "Fuck that." And I like what Russell says. He says, "If I don't make it, are you even gonna try it?" I don't know. It depends how close you get. And, it works out for Cash. However, that fall should have broke his back.
Or at least popped his knees or broke his legs or...
Done something. And so Cash makes it. Tango's on his way. And, of course, we have to have an interruption because we haven't had Stallone kick someone's ass in a couple of minutes. And you were right, John. You totally saw it coming. And he dispatches a Face on the electrical panel thing, and he gets electrocuted, and then Stallone makes the jump, he does the fall, he makes it, and then they got to find out what's going on, right? They got to find out who framed him, and they already met him, but they don't know who he is. So Tango tells Cash, if it gets too hot for you on the outside, go to the club,
Cleopatra Club,
and ask for
Catherine.
Then they part. They goes their separate ways.
Did you catch the line right before they part? The that they made a comment of.
He had to stop and get Danish?
He stopped and get a Danish, and what did he say?
He said, no, I hate Danish.
A coffee and a Danish.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Stop to get a coffee and a Danish?
He says, I hate Danish.
Do you know?
Yeah, because that is what Brigitte Nelson is. She's Danish.
Yes,
and they've just gone through their divorce.
So they stuck that in just to snipe at her a bit.
Yeah. The detectives visit the witness who framed them in court. Tango intercepts Weiler, who admits that Rakeen was in charge of the setup. Weiler gets killed in a car bomb while trying to escape. Cash discovers that Skinner made the incriminating tapes himself. He starts destroying Skinner's expensive equipment until he agrees to help exonerate them. Cash finds Catherine, Tango's sister, who goes by Kiki, but is quickly surrounded by cops. She helps Cash escape the nightclub by dressing him as a female. Later that night, Tango reunites with Cash, and the duo are met at Kiki's house by Schroeder, Tango's commanding officer. He gives them Rakeen's address and tells them that they have 24 hours to figure out who he works for. Tango and Cash apprehend Rakeen and trick him into telling them Perrette's name. Cash's weapons expert friend Owen lets them borrow a high-tech assault vehicle, and the duo storm into Perrette's headquarters to confront the crime lord. However, Perrette has kidnapped Kiki and has started a timer that will trigger the building's automatic self-destruction procedure. After killing Perrette's core security personnel and fellow crime lords, Rakeen appears holding Kiki at knife point. He throws her aside to fight the detectives hand-to-hand, and Cash kills him. Perrette appears in a hall of mirrors holding a gun to Kiki's head. Both detectives pick out the correct Perrette and shoot him in the forehead. They gather Kiki and barely escape as the building explodes. They joke half seriously about Cash's desire to date Kiki as a newspaper headline announces they've been completely vindicated and returned to the LAPD as heroes. Roll credits.
What do you think of them gathering the evidence to exonerate themselves? Did you feel like this whole bit was rushed, or was it a good pace?
Oh, the pacing was fine. The pacing was set up from the very beginning. You didn't like it?
Well, I just felt, I'm not saying I didn't like it, because I appreciated the fast pace of this movie, but I just thought it was interesting that the whole setup of, making them guilty was a lot longer than them exonerating themselves. And literally it was just, Tango went to one place, it didn't work out. Cash went to one place, he got everything he needs to prove their innocence.
Yeah, and so he had to meet him at Catherine's to give him the information. What'd you guys think of Teri Hatcher?
I don't know. I thought she was all right. I figured that we were going to see her again because she's third on the billing. Oh, she's a dancer. Oh, all right. And then when she started playing the drums, it's like, all right, whatever. Let's move on.
I appreciate the, kind of, I think, why she was added into the movie. She was added in for a little bit of comic, or comic effect. She was added in as eye candy. But was she really a necessary character?
I don't know. No, but I mean, the movie isn't better with her, and the movie isn't better without her.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you felt,
yeah,
I thought she was fine. I thought the adding of the sister gives it another element between Tango and Cash, something, another rivalry, if you will. And I'm glad that Cash wins. So Cash goes to the club, and like you were saying, Professor, she's a dancer there, and she, I don't know, I guess hears Cash asking or something, because she just comes down to him at the end of her routine and says, I'm Catherine.
Yeah, how does she know that?
I figured that out. I was wondering about that myself, and she makes a comment about, of course, she followed the media when her brother, or Tango was in trouble, so I'm sure she saw all the pictures of them in the newspaper.
That's what I deduced as well during the movie, as soon as she said the newspaper bit.
Yeah, so she recognized him right away.
Yeah. I got a question. Why'd all those cops show up at the Cleopatra Club?
Because they must have figured out that Catherine works there.
And they were waiting for Tango to show up, is my guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They weren't going. I don't think they were going for Cash. I think they were going to talk to Catherine and to see if Ray shows up.
I also thought that they probably staked her out, that they were waiting for them to show up. So that's why you had all the police outside.
Well, if they were so fucking smart, how come they didn't stake out her house?
I don't know. But,
he wouldn't be stupid enough to go to the house. He would go to her place of business.
He did. He did go to her house.
Yeah.
So you're looking for this escaped convict, and I guess that's the reason why you only need 23 police officers.
At A strip joint, by the way. So, because I know when I get out of prison, the first place I want to go.
Well, it's a strip joint where the women don't take their clothes off.
Yeah, I know. And the 15-year-old me was like, God damn it. Is what it is.
Well, we got our gratuitous nude scene right in the beginning, and it was
Well,
taken
and
out of the way.
And after this scene, too, because they go back into the dressing room.
Oh.
I forgot how many pairs of breasts there were in this film.
I appreciated this.
Breasts?
Besides that, I appreciated so sillily. I can't say sillily. That's not a word. But the slightly erotic undercurrent of this movie. We have Kurt Russell in a dress. We have Kurt Russell and Arnold and Sylvester Stallone naked in the shower together. You know, they're hanging out in the shower. Okay, I guess it's just kind of sort of poking fun at this or something. But
even the back massage, like when she's on top of him making all the moaning noises.
God, you said that like with a lot of disgust on your face. Did
No.
you not like that scene?
That scene was funny. I agree, you know, that the whole setup, but it did seem a little ridiculous with her making all those noises on top of him where it was obvious what they were trying to portray.
It was
over the top.
It was very much over the top, that is for sure. But it was played for comedic laughs.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really want to break it down, why did Tango stay so long? Once he saw that, if he thought what was happening, why'd he sit there and linger? I mean, we could do this all day about 80s movies, but yeah, it definitely was thrown in for comedic sake. And I kind of did like Stallone's expression when Teri Hatcher says something and Stallone mouths like, "What the fuck?" That was a cute moment.
Going back to Professor Open the Door to this, Kurt Russell in drag in the women's clothing. What'd you think of that whole escape scene?
Oh, I thought it was funny.
it was cute.
It was cute.
I just kept thinking Kurt Russell in drag looks like Kurt Russell in drag. I don't think he would have fooled any of those police officers. But of course, it's in the script that way.
Yeah. So I would say don't overthink it, bud, but too late.
Yeah.
It was a fine scene. It was fine. So back at Kiki's house, she's giving Cash a massage and Ray's there, and then Ray's captain shows up and he tackles him through the screen.
Is this how you screen all of your guests?
Wah, wah, wah.
This was another goof that I just want to point out. When he crashes through the door, they just obliterates the door, yet when they show the next scene and the screen on top of the commander or the captain, whatever, it's all put back together again.
I was noticing that when I watched it last. I'm like, oh, look, continuity. Good job, guys.
And Jeffrey Lewis, for once, playing a good guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't play a good guy very often.
Was that a hairpiece?
I don't know.
I felt like that was a pretty
Wait.
bad wig.
Wait. Are we talking about the hair on his head or his mustache?
The hair on his head.
Because the mustache looked pretty fake too.
Did it?
But he played a captain, right? I mean, that role or that character was very much every captain from every cop movie that we'd ever seen. And we come down to this theme that we from every other movie. You have 24 hours to figure this shit out.
The one thing I do appreciate about this movie that, we talked about tropes and how there's always, a lot of these similar tropes from all these different movies. Well, one trope we see in all movies is there's always the police captain who doesn't get along with the loose cannon cop or with the cop who doesn't play by the rules. In this one, both captains are very supportive of their officers. Yeah. And so you don't see that in many movies.
Well, I don't know.
There's always you got one more chance, or I'm taking your badge, or...
Yeah, I mean, that's just a theme, I guess. But, when you said that, I started thinking about cops and their captains, and most of the captains that I'm thinking of support their cops. Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying, and I know that it's a theme that's used a lot. I'm gonna fucking bust you to the wall.
Well, the first one that comes to mind was Cobra, and that kind of situation where there's always the tension between the great cop and whoever's above him.
Yeah, that would be an example. Well, his captain supported him. It was that other guy that didn't like him, right? So yeah, these two, their captains, are on their side because the captain even says, I was only able to buy you 24 hours. So go figure this shit out. So after, Ray assaults his captain and they figure out what's going on and what's their next move, Tango and Cash go visit.
They check out that address.
So they take that address and they go to the house and they find Rakeen.
Well, he thinks he found Cash, but dun, dun, dun.
Again, I've seen, the twist was coming. You
The
knew.
setup, yeah.
Yeah, one had the other's back, which was fun. And so they took him up to the, oh my God, I just put this together. The same exact scene happens in The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. Not only the bad guy thinks he's got the cop at the partners there, but also them hanging the dude off the roof or balcony. Yeah, I just totally put that together.
I thought it was interesting that he was ready to be dropped. He had no problem dying. But then when he's tied up, he's afraid of the grenade.
Because he knew they weren't going to drop him. With the grenade, you had no idea. And this is the bit where we get, bad cop, worse cop. And I liked Stallone's psychoness here. And I liked the dialogue between Kurt Russell and Stallone. I thought
Cash sells it.
He very much so. Cash sells it. And it just really worked. They get the information. Rakeen squeals like a pig. And they do the whole bit where he drops the grenade down his pants. And
Which
it's
is?
a dud. Which is another way of telling you to maybe look forward to this same type of motif later in the film.
Which is?
What I just said.
Would that be an example of?
What I just said? Yes.
And then we get a little bit more of that banter, and we realize that Cash is not going to let up on Kiki.
Right. And every time they're about to give each other a high five, something always interrupts it, which at the end of the movie it's going to be complete. But anyways.
Now, is this where we get to Owen?
Right. So after this, they figure out where Perret is in his evil lair quarry, I guess. And so they want to go in prepared. So they go see Cash's buddy Owen, who we were introduced earlier, and who I think easily is the most valuable player for the supporting cast. I thought he was so much fun, and just the way he was and his quirkiness, and he accepts Cash, and Cash accepts him. He's their cue.
I don't remember.
That's exactly how I looked at him.
Right?
Yeah. I don't remember that actor's name, but I've seen him in a lot of different things.
So much stuff.
And he's always fun in every movie he's
Michael
in.
Pollard.
Michael Pollard.
Yeah. I really liked him in this role. So
We get the RV from hell.
the RV from hell. We added, cool cars to the must-have list or the criteria list early on, and I would say that this definitely fits the bill.
Do you know what that car was built from?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
1988 Chevrolet K2500 truck. So it was actually a pickup truck that they just built on the back of.
Yeah. The suspension and everything, it looks like a pickup truck.
Now, I thought it was interesting, too, when Owen was describing the vehicle and explaining kind of some of the features and everything, he makes a comment about that this RV, this truck, could crash through a brick wall. What was that another example of?
They don't crash through a brick wall.
They go through a wall.
They go through a gate.
They go through a gate.
Oh, I thought it was actually looked like a wall to me.
No, it was a gate.
Okay.
So, ha-ha!
But
Foreshadowing backfires on your ass.
I will say that when we go in, it does very much look like a gate. There is one thing that I was disappointed with in that rig, in the RV from hell.
No cup holders?
No, not the cup holders.
The radio?
That the gun on the side of the van, we never see fire.
I was wondering about that, too. They never really used that.
Maybe they didn't know how.
That could be.
It was a prototype, right? And they were just trying to do the best of what they had. And they just went in circles,
Well,
really.
plus Cash had witnessed earlier that dog gun thing explode. Maybe he was afraid to use the gun.
Oh, I don't think Cash is afraid of anything.
I don't know. He got a little jumpy when he saw that dog explode.
Well, it was a loud fucking bang. You would have got jumpy too, buddy.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be worried about the side gun exploding?
No, wait, dude. I would have worried more about the car blowing up as soon as I turned it on. Once I'm halfway there, let's give the gun a shot.
Did you hear the story behind that vehicle while they were filming?
No.
In one of the scenes, you see the the truck catch on fire. Well, apparently, not only did it catch on fire, but they had trouble putting it out to the point where Stallone almost got burned.
Oh, really?
It singed some of his hair.
What'd you think of the chase scene?
It was okay. It was very kind of paint by numbers. You knew that at some point they were going to have to ditch the rig, and you knew at some point Owen was going to come on the radio and go, guys,
I liked having him on the radio.
why aren't you talking to me? Just a little comic relief.
One of the things I thought was, and maybe it's just because I'm not expecting enough from this movie, but this guy must have thought that the army was coming in to attack him at some point. That the fact that he had such the big guns on top of those monster trucks.
Oh, are you talking about Perret?
Perret.
Yeah, he's taking all kinds of countermeasures.
Yeah, he had some crazy things. First of all, the big guns on the thing. And what kind of evil mastermind guy has a self-destruct at his gun drug warehouse?
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that point in a second. But yeah, he is very much an over-the-top warlord. He definitely is the classic definition of your 80s action movie villain, for sure.
I thought that the chase scene was ridiculous. It was so absurd having them immediately being confronted by all of these vehicles that are armed to the nines that, as John just pointed out, firing missiles from the top of the cab, and they are instantly, confronting them. And next thing you know, you have, these super vehicles that are crashing into them. My gosh, what were you expecting? Apparently you were ready. I wonder if there's like nukes in there or something because the security is so amped up. So the next thing you know, they go crashing into the warehouse. And I did like the fact that they came in on the tractors that from the quarry.
Right.
The construction equipment, yeah.
Yeah. And they get in, and now they have to go find Kiki. And this is where...
Well, they don't even know that Kiki's been kidnapped at this point, which is another action trope. Sorry, Professor. Of course, someone has to be kidnapped and held by the boss guy.
Right. Someone needs to be for
ace
ransom.
Up the sleeve.
Absolutely. So you're right. They don't know. They're just going to go get Perret. And
at this point, do they even know who Perret is?
they've heard him, but I don't think they've ever seen him unless they did some. Oh, no, they do because Owen gives them the information.
Yeah, so they know of him,
network.
but they haven't seen him.
Well, at the prison, they saw his silhouette and they heard his voice when he gave one of his little monologues.
Yeah, but that was about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if they would. I don't know if they would be able to pick him up out of a lineup, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, how do you know? But they know Quan and Lopez are there, and so they dispatch of them.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row, James Hong.
Yeah, I was just thinking that same fucking thing when I was watching it.
Yeah, which, of course, Kurt Russell and Hong in a movie.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when we have the showdown with Requeen, and he has the grenade goes off down his pants, shocker, and then for some reason all of a sudden we get this kicking guy coming into the fight as well. Where did he come from all of a sudden?
Okay, let me ask you this: does it matter? Because Stallone needed someone to fight.
He did,
right?
He did.
Because I thought the same thing. I remember thinking that same thing way back when I saw it. I'm like, where the fuck did this guy come from?
I read a rumor on the internet, which I had to verify myself, that was actually Jean-Claude Van Damme in an uncredited role. I stopped a freeze frame. It is not him.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah, I don't know why you listen to those rumors on the internet. That's just silly.
I thought it was going to be kind of like a 6-step separation kind of thing of how you can connect all these movies together. Not even close.
No, if that was the case, we would have heard about that a long time ago. And so, yeah, Rakeen and Kurt Russell have to fight, and Tango and this martial artist have to fight. And naturally, our heroes win. And, at that point, this is where we find out that Kiki has been abducted. And, Rakeen puts a grenade behind her head because, turnaround is fair play. But the bad guys in this whole third act are kind of taken care of easily, because I think we're at the point of the movie where we need to start wrapping things up. And, you're getting close to that hour 30, hour 40 time mark. And we know that everything's going to wrap up quickly. And so naturally we have to have our showdown between our antagonists and our protagonists. And we get the Hall of Mirrors from Enter the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking that.
Yeah. Would you guys, this whole bit where they get Perrette, I mean, I understand. It has to go down this way because Perrette's not going to physically fight anybody, right? That's why he's got henchmen.
I'm wondering, so he decides that's it. I'm checking out here because he's staying in the building. The timer's counting down. And he's staying in the building. He's not leaving. So I guess he's decided he's done.
And yeah, why turn on the self-destruct?
I don't know.
Is this a fucking spaceship?
Yeah, the whole point of that, he was taking out Tango and Cash because they were costing him so much money. They were just, taking all of his weapons. They're taking all of his drugs. Now he's blowing up his main headquarters that has all of his weapons and drugs. Like, Professor was saying, did he expect to get out alive, or was he just going to go up in a ball of flame?
Who knows? Who knows why madmen do what they do? I don't know how many times I got to tell you guys that, especially during this segment. But yeah, fucking crazy. What'd you guys think of the bit on how they each found out which Perrette was real?
That was going to be one of my first questions. When they shoot him, my first thought was, how the fuck did they know, or was it just dumb luck?
Well, no, they tell us.
Which they tell us afterwards.
They both had a reason that they were going to shoot him in the knee.
And then a callback to sights. Cash, he's all, damn, my sight's off. And Tango, yeah, so is mine. Which is a callback to who's been fucking with my sights, right?
You know what line popped in my head right after both of them shot him in the head?
What?
It's just been revoked. Did you ever see that Family Guy episode?
I love it because Peter Griffin says it for when it doesn't even fucking apply.
He just throughout the series, every so often they fit that in.
And of course, Roadhouse. So God bless Family Guy. So yeah, they kill Perrette. They escape in the nick of time because that's what our action heroes do. And we come to find out that Cash is in fact going to date Tango's sister. And, you get this cute little back and forth between the two. Then they give each other the high five. We cut to the newspaper. Here's my thing. When anybody ever gives somebody a high five, you know what drives me nuts? Is when you give someone a high five and you clamp hands.
Yeah, why do that?
Right? It's just a high five, But
for our last,
whatever.
For what I think is the last kind of movie trope, it's the freeze frame always on the high five. That they do the high five and they have to freeze right there.
Oh, yeah. Or something where there's a freeze frame. Mm-hmm. For sure. And then you get that catchy tune and the movie's over. And you have just spent an hour and 40-ish minutes in pure heaven.
Which I have no idea how it is that destroying everything and killing everybody makes them innocent.
And that goes through every single action movie, probably up until the 2000s, really. And maybe even happening today, right? If you're a cop, how do you get away with blowing everything up? No repercussions? Nothing?
Well, that's when I read that the director had left or been fired or quit or whatever, they had actually gone through like several directors. They had fired like photography people, everything. I felt like this whole wrap up of just showing the newspaper was, let's just get this movie done and over with and move on.
Oh, it was very much a slap at the end. We're just going to throw it on there and tie everything up with a nice bow. Mm-hmm. For sure. I don't know if it had anything to do with the production or what was going on, but it was definitely that. It was meant to do what you just said. So
you broke out of prison? Well, okay. Just don't do it again.
Yeah. Oh, you were kind of responsible in blowing up a multi-million-dollar complex at a quarry? Okay, just you watch it, you little rascal, you.
All of the evidence and everything, except for one little audio cassette tape, everything's been destroyed. Perfect. All your, all the bad guys that could possibly be witnesses, that's fine.
Yeah, well, when you're fucking Tango and Cash, buddy.
Did this movie not feel like, and maybe I'm thinking kind of in the mind of Lethal Weapon, that this could have been a good setup for future movies. Like they could have done a series of these, 2 or 3.
Oh, they probably could have, but other franchises have tried and failed. I think that having a buddy cop ongoing story is really hard to do. You look at the classic ones throughout history. I mean, other than Lethal Weapon, I mean, who else do you want to see come back? You only got 248 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
But, also you got Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You got Thelma and Louise.
There was no sequels to those, though.
Exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And kind of like we were saying earlier, it really depends on the characters and how it keeps it going. Riggs and Murtaugh are probably easily my favorite buddy cops duos in any movie. What about you?
Well, I was thinking of another set of buddies that we reviewed already for one of our earlier pods. Anyone?
Hang on.
Anyone?
How long ago? Oh, Hot Fuzz?
Not Hot Fuzz, but yes.
Okay, I like it. Buddy cops.
No, not buddy cops.
Oh,
just buddies.
Oh, we're doing buddy films?
Yeah, just
The
buddies.
Blues Brothers?
Well, there is that too, and they are actual brothers supposedly.
Yes.
Are you thinking of Tommy Boy?
I'm talking about Del Griffith and Neil Page, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great buddies.
Yeah, buddies.
Yeah.
I was talking about buddy cops.
Oh.
Do you or
No,
besides
I was just talking about buddy movies in general.
You know who my favorite 2 are? Sam and Frodo.
Ah, shit.
Oh, fuck. And now it's time for John's precious moment.
This is the point in our podcast where I like to take whatever movie we're reviewing and compare it to the greatest movie series ever, Lord of the Rings. So for Tango and Cash, I would say that the Fellowship consists of Tango, Cash, Captain Schroeder, Owen, Matt Skokowski, and Catherine, aka Kiki. Being that there are 2 stars who are over-the-top action heroes in this movie, they share equal billing. I would actually picking one of them to be Frodo is basically impossible. There are times in this movie that both Tango and Cash are also both Frodo and Sam. So I'm going to go with the idea that they are both equally Frodo and Sam. At different times throughout the movie, each one is the hero and each one is the sidekick. The closest we come to an Aragorn in this movie is Captain Schroeder. In Return of the King, Aragorn used his troops to divert Sauron's attention away from Sam and Frodo, allowing them to complete their mission. Similarly, Captain Schroeder used his resources to divert the attention from our heroes to give them 24 hours. Who is Gandalf? Well, that one was a tough one because nobody really fit that role in this movie. The closest I could see is Owen, since he is a wizard when it comes to gadgets and weapons. Matt Skokowski, who is Cash's old CO, is Boromir. He unintentionally sacrificed his life to save our heroes. He had to know that helping them meant putting his life on the line. The only Fellowship member that I struggle with placing is Catherine. She's a big help to our hero and provides some comic relief, but also becomes a pawn of the bad guy. So for her, I chose Pippin. Pippin was a help to our heroes, but also Pippin was the one who touched the Palantir, which basically alerted Sauron to what was going on in Lord of the Rings. Also, Catherine, like Pippin, performs a musical number. Pippin performed musical numbers in the tavern and for Denethor II, Steward of Gondor. He just didn't look as good as Catherine did, but I'm pretty sure also Pippin never gave Frodo a back rub. But there was extra footage that we didn't see from the movie. Sauron, well, that's going to be Yves Perret. Like Sauron, he is the big bad who's always watching. He uses his power and his influence to affect our hero's journey as he strives to control everything. Saruman the White, well, that's Requin. He worked for Sauron and is the key to Perret's scheme to destroy our heroes. That would make Quan and Lopez the Nazgul. Like the Nazgul in Lord of the Rings, they're always hovering around and die before the end of the movie. The inmates in the prison, well, that's our orcs, which make face our Urukai. He seemed to be the toughest and kind of the leader, but also died fighting. Middle Earth, that's Southern California. Mordor, Peret's warehouse. And Mount Doom, well, I guess that would be Peret's office where he dies. So what is the precious? What is the one ring in Tango and Cash? In Lord of the Rings, the ring has a powerful effect on whoever carries it. It's a powerful tool, but it also can be devastating with a corrupting effect. In Tango and Cash, our heroes' reputations are very important to them. They keep talking about who's the top cop, who's the second cop, and they even joke, banter between them about their reputations. Our big bad corrupts their reputations through his influence, and it's when the reputation turns bad that they go to prison. They ultimately destroy the negative effect on their reputations when they kill Peret in his office area. And that's when we get to basically see that, he dies, we get the big high five, and we get the whole newspaper showing that they've been cleared. So this would make that one ring be the reputations that they carry with them. The ring's corruption is directly tied to Peret's influence. So that is my comparison between Tango and Cash and Lord of the Rings. Bring on the grades.
Well, I got to say that it's a good, in general, linking the people up who Sauron and Saruman the White, Gandalf, and I can go with Captain Schroeder being Aragorn as well. So I think that it's pretty good, but for the most part, it's not hitting it out of the park. I'll give it a B.
You give it a B?
Give it a B.
Yeah, look at you. Yeah, you could play the comparison game all day long with any movie, with any characters. I think the trick is finding what you're looking for, which is the precious. But that's fucking hard, because I think in a lot of movies there isn't one. And
I think that too.
And for this particular one, I don't know if there is a precious. It was funny because I try and do it too. I try to go Lord of the Rings, and then when I can't come up with them, like, oh, fuck it, I won't do it anymore, right? But when I was watching Lord of the Rings, when I was watching Tango and Cash remind me of Merry and Pippin if they went off on their own adventure outside of the Fellowship, right? I thought, oh, that would be kind of fun. But overall, yeah, your comparisons pretty spot on. I did like the Aragorn and the Captain, and buying them time, and I did like the parallel between Aragorn buying time at that final battle to give Frodo. You know what I'm saying, right? So overall, I'm going to give this a C+. And that was John's precious moment.
I got one more little piece of trivia for you.
Fire away.
So,
all right. So we are going to.
So Tango's call sign by the dispatch is 20 William 12. Where have you heard that call sign before?
It says Lethal Weapon, but is that? I thought it was 20 William 56. We'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I'll say my notes say that is Martin and Riggs.
Yeah. Well, your notes also
that's
said
Martin
that,
Riggs call
right,
sign.
But your notes also said that was Jean-Claude Van Damme kicking Stallone. So I mean, grain of salt.
Yeah,
grain of salt. For some reason my gut says 56, but it probably is 12 because I'm wrong about that stuff all the time.
We're just gonna have to go back and watch 1 and 2.
What? Can we watch 3 too?
I thought eventually we're
on
gonna
a roll.
have to review all 3 movies, so might as well review them in order.
There's 4.
There's 4.
Oh, 4. Oh, well, they made 4 of those movies. Ugh.
Did he just say ugh? Well,
Jill, if you're listening,
I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, you try and come on the show and talk shit about any Lethal Weapon, and the professor and I. Woo.
Do you know what my favorite thing is about the Lethal Weapon movies?
The ending?
No, that there are no more.
No.
What?
Joe Pesci.
Wow, he's fucking lovable.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really appreciate about that movie.
Yeah. Well, but
Which means he only saw 3.
Or 2. Or 4.
He didn't see 4 because he didn't know there was 4. But 2's got to be where he loves him most.
Oh, absolutely. But 3 is pretty good.
Yeah.
There was this guy. He had a house. Monkey on the stilts. Oh, I remember.
No, the one that I appreciate is they always fuck you at the drive-thru.
Oh, dude, fuck yeah. They know you're going to be miles away before you know you got fucked. And who gets fucked? Okay, Leo gets. But I'm not eating this fucking tuna. All right, so what do you guys think? You guys are ready to rate this bitch?
I think I could be talked into it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to rate this bitch.
Hey, Professor, how do we rate our movies?
We rate our movies on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that you think is cinematic gold. You are ready to watch this movie anytime somebody says, hey, you want to watch this? Yes, I do. And then a 1 fuck movie is a movie where you're one and done. There's nothing about it that you ever care to see again. And you were curious about it, so you watched it, but no, you're not going to watch any of it. You won't even watch one of those little YouTube shorts. I've already seen it.
And what's a 0?
A 0 is... Who made me watch this movie? Somebody owes me 2 hours of my life back.
And in other words, we just don't give a fuck. Hey, speaking of not giving a fuck, who wants to go first?
You know what? I will go first this week.
All right, not giving a fucker. Fire away.
So, does Tango and Cash deliver on our must-haves for a classic 80s action movie? Strong hero with quotable one-liners? We got 2 for the price of 1. Well, I'm sure it was bigger price than 1. I mean, they had to pay through the roof for those 2 characters. A crazy level supervillain that only our heroes can beat. Well, our heroes had to battle through a lot of obstacles before they got to defeat the big bad rat sniffer. Chases and fight scenes, there were plenty of those. A final showdown, yeah, we got one of those. An oh crap death scene for a bad guy. It was a little bit obvious what was coming, but yeah, sure, I'll say we did. Franchise potential. It could have easily spawned a bunch of sequels similar to the Lethal Weapon series. I think they would have all done quite well. Around a 90-minute runtime, well, Tango and Cash comes in at 104 minutes, so pretty close to that requirement. Tango and Cash follows the same formula that made Lethal Weapon a good movie. Didn't say great, said good. It takes 2 top-notch action stars, puts them in an impossible situation, throws in a ton of classic action tropes and quotable one-liners, adds in one of the worst British accents in movie histories and a creepy rat-sniffing Jack Palance, and you have have a heck of a good time. It's actually a fun ride when you take this movie for what it's meant to be. The only issues that I had with this movie is that it felt like it was trying too hard to be every type of action movie. It even threw in, guns and martial arts, car chases, everything, all thrown into one movie. Again, felt like it was going a little too hard. So basically, when it comes down to it, for me, this movie felt like a fill-in-the-blank type movie built on action tropes. So for that reason, I'm going to give this movie 3 fucks. I liked it more than Cobra, but I think I liked RoboCop and Big Trouble just a little bit more, so I kind of had to put it in the middle there.
Well, there you go. 3 fucks. What do you think?
All right, fine, I'll go.
Okay.
All right, so we are talking about Tango and Cash. It had been a long time since I'd seen this movie, and it was definitely something that I'd watched several times over VHS. I found the movie to be not necessarily memorable when I had watched it back in the day. It's an easy enough watch. And watching it again for the pod, I found the movie to be about what I expected it to be. It didn't knock my socks off. It has a ton of situations in the movie where they're just too fantastical. And the fact that it's over the top, I'm down with that. That's fine. But on the other hand, it's not making it as enjoyable for me because of what happens between Tango and Cash. In particular, they don't ever really just talk to each other. All they do is they just one-line each other back and forth. And the fact that they one-line each other back and forth, I feel like holds the movie back. Teri Hatcher being in the movie, other than being a pretty face, I didn't necessarily feel compelled to have her be in the movie for any particular reason other than it's just something else for Tango and Cash to bicker and argue over. Jack Palance is a bad guy. I like him a lot as a bad guy. I really enjoyed him in Batman, which was also coincidentally the same year as this. And so I really appreciated him as the bad guy. But, he is a little goofy about how affectionate he is towards his rats. The movie overall, having its action sequences, are fun and easy to watch. And for the most part, it unfolds exactly how you expect it to unfold, and there were no surprises. And it's just kind of sort of a lighthearted, guilty pleasure watch. It's something that I don't necessarily feel compelled to watch again anytime soon. I would prefer to watch something like Bloodsport, Roadhouse. Roadhouse is something that I will always continue to watch if I happen to be able to see it. And I think that, as good as Tango and Cash is, and the two of them together, I think it's a good movie, but not a great movie. So I'm giving it 3 fucks.
3 fucks from the professor. Well, I was happy to get back in the swing of things with Tango and Cash, because this is truly what I would consider the definition of a 80s action flick. John went through all the criteria, and yes, it had all of them in spades. Tango and Cash is very much a product of its time, and Tango and Cash is very much a product of every other action movie out there. But what saves it from being completely ridiculous in my book is the chemistry between Stallone and Russell. Professor had mentioned that they don't spend enough time to get to know them, like Riggs and Murtaugh, I guess. But with those two types of characters, from the get-go, we are told what to expect and what we're getting. And I think that for this particular movie, it works just fine. I don't need to know that they're buddies, or we know that they work well together, and we know that this movie was a lot of fun. And so I would consider Riggs and Murtaugh top shelf buddy cops, top shelf characters, and Tango and Cash, they're kind of like the B level. Right, but they're at the upper of the B level, because they're still badasses. Stallone's turn from Rambo to Wall Street Cop, I really enjoyed. It was nice to see him out of his comfort zone and try the comedy. And yeah, some of it didn't land because he's still Stallone after all, but some of it did. And I think that, good for him for trying it out. Kurt Russell, always a joy. It was almost like he was born to play these type of roles. Jack Palance, an over-the-top villain, absolutely. The fight scenes, hand-to-hand is Stallone's go-to. You know what I mean? He looks really good when he's doing hand-to-hand combat. We talked about tropes all night long, and yes, there are 1,000 of them in this film, all the way from early 80s movies up until Die Hard, which was in 88, even Lethal Weapon 2 in 89. Anyways, the culmination of all of this brought together a fun action movie. I really enjoy this movie. I am going to give Tango and Cash 4.25 fucks. So 3 fucks from the professor, 3 fucks from the comic book guy, and 4.25 fucks from myself gives us an average of 3.4 fucks, which puts Tango and Cash behind Big Trouble in Little China.
So it's definitely in a solid second place.
Well, it should be in first place because Big Trouble doesn't belong on this list. But
shut the fuck up.
That's neither here nor there. So yeah.
All right, so we got 2 more to go.
Yeah.
Before we crown our winner.
All right, so moving on. In the cage match, do Tango and Cash stick together and work together?
Fuck yes, they are a team. And I'm telling you, as of tonight, Tango and Cash are on top.
Because I'm thinking having the two of them work together like that, it's going to mix things up in there.
Agreed.
They are brawlers, too. I was just thinking about that. Not only, do they have their guns, but they were pretty good at taking out that whole jail cell riot group.
Yeah, and you remember how we were talking about how you take out RoboCop? One guy's on all fours and the other dude pushes. That's classically made for Tango and Cash.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the tough question.
Fire away. I got an answer.
We take them all out. The two that are left are Tango and Cash. Who wins between the two of them?
No, they can't fight each other.
They give each other a high five.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
He does have a point. Well, come back to me. What are we doing next week? Yeah, come back and ask me next week.
Okay.
Gun to my head, I think that Tango takes out Cash.
I kind of feel the same way because I think Tango would lure him into like a sense of security of, we're both going to go out together and then just shoot him.
No, they would be, how I see it playing is everyone's gone, it's down to them, and it's just hand to hand now. There's no guns.
I think Cash would say, I slept with your sister. Bang, he's dead.
That maybe. Gun to your head. Who is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Does Cash have the rifle in his boot?
Okay, again, no weapons.
Okay.
Not until the very,
He's
very
got
last
hidden
match.
gadgets.
What?
He's got hidden gadgets.
So what? It's still no weapons. I'm waiting.
I'm going to go with
All right, now
I'm going
there
to go
comes
with
a-
Cash. Fuck you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for answering the fucking question. Now that we're done with round 8, we are moving on to round 9 and 10. And if you want to know the name of the movie that we will be reviewing next, be sure to check out the website and any of our social media platforms. Hey, speaking of which, hey, John, where can they find us?
Well, they can always, as you mentioned, find us at our website, 3guysinaFlick.com, where we post all of our podcasts, our show notes, movie trivia, and anything else we feel like loading up there. They can find us on any of the social media sites and anywhere that hosts podcasts.
All right. I just want to thank Zach, Ronnie, and Jill for always listening. Keep on listening.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Jill.
And I want to thank everyone else who listens. And if you are a new listener, drop us a note. Let us know how we're doing. Do you hate us? Do you like us? Do you like one of us more than the other? Do you all despise me the most? Hey, I'm a big boy. I can take it. So let us know in the comments.
One thing else I want to throw out is I mentioned Ron Vega's podcast last week, Wrath of the Iothans. One thing I forgot to mention is go listen to it. It is a great podcast. There are a lot of fun episodes. He did a fantastic one where they reviewed the movie The Thing. Go check it out. It's a fun listen to.
So for 3 Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And I'm Ken. Thanks for listening.
Why is it every time I look at you and I say something, it's like it's the first time you've ever heard words? And you still can't fucking say anything. Killing me.
I have to save the talent for the show.
Shit. Every time I think of Jack Palance, it's Batman, right?
Mm-hmm. That's where I always go.
And remember, you are our number one guy.
That's some lazy shit there.
I know. Well, I'm fucking tired, man.
I'm fucking tired.
And I feel, okay, bitch.
Do you want to just go to the ratings?
I give Tango and Cash. So Tango and Cash is the last action movie released in the 80s.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to use any of that before, so the thank you doesn't make any sense. Now I got to cut around it.
Thank you.
You son of a bitch. As far as movies released in 1986, Professor, where does this land?
Well, you're talking about 1989.
God damn it. And with movies coming in, I was all with the Top Gun and this and that, but what else could you stab something with in a male prison? Oh, for fuck's sakes, I got to draw him
I didn't think it was
picture.
called that.
All right, fuck off. Good night.